This is taking it a step further, guys, and this is why this video, some of the things I'm saying here is not some of the things that other videos have talked about. Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Ade Damola, but you can call me Ade or Damola, whichever one you like. And in today's video, we are going to be talking about statement of purpose, personal statements. Basically, this is a form of writing that you do when you want to apply for graduate school. On a side note, so I am actually a writing consultant in my school's writing center, which is me basically just helping any student that is working on maybe a thesis, a cover letter, a CV, a rhetorical analysis, a literary analysis, any sort of writing that you may need assistance with. So I am asking you different questions to kind of help guide your process into making sure that whatever you have up here is translated into written form. So that's basically what I do. And with that, of course, I'm a graduate student. So I remember on my YouTube channel a couple of months ago or weeks, I did a video about how I got admission into my current school, which is Florida State University. And I did get an email from one of my subscribers asking me to send them my statement of purpose. Guys, statement of purpose is not really something you send out like that, because part of the statement of purpose is you probably writing something about like your thesis that you are interested in researching about, and if that is the case, it means different people are going to be researching the same thing if they just copy and paste, and you don't really want that. But so I decided that I will make a video on this. So if you're interested in this, please keep on watching. So guys, I have my statement of purpose here with me that I printed out. I'm going to be explaining some of the very specific and important things that need to be present in your personal statement or statement of purpose. Now, mind you guys, I have talked to some of the professors that, at least in my school, that are in charge of giving admission to people, and what they tell me and what they, share with me that, is very irrelevant that people write, and things that are very important that people hardly ever talk about. The first thing I will say, guys, is don't be too attached to your personal experience. I'm gonna read what I wrote about my personal experience so you see how concise that is. There's this thing that happens when we are writing a personal statement like this, and we just get so attached to wanting to share our experience, which is good. But guys, this is the least thing that should consume like an entire paragraph in your statement of purpose, honestly. And like I said, I have discussed with people that are in charge of like giving admission to students that write stuff like this. To be blunt, they are least interested in how you woke up one morning and you decided that, oh, so my passion is music. I fell in love with music when somebody played the guitar to me for that, like all of that story. Yes, they do want to know how you found passion for it, but guys, that is like 15% of what they're really out to look for in your statement of purpose. So don't be too attached and to that experience that you can't really now reduce it and make it concise. Okay, now let me read my own experience and how I started to write mine. So I said, the memories of the first visit to my village back in Nigeria are still very fresh in my mind. Communication between my peers and me was almost impossible, as most of them could not express themselves in English effectively. Now, I'm sorry guys, I didn't mention, I am studying English language and my major is in rhetoric and composition. Now, that simply means I'm learning how to teach people how to write. Hence my job as a consultant. Okay, so that's what I'm saying here. See how I'm tying my experience to English itself? I said most of them could not express themselves in English effectively. Okay, I had to take to code mixing as a means of interaction with my peers. I spent the better part of my visit teaching my peers how to interact and communicate effectively with others using English language as a medium. Now, this experience, coupled with the fact that English language is a global language, sparked my interest in studying English language at university as an undergraduate. That's it, guys. Now, Everything I just said, guys, wasn't more than 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 lines, guys. Like 6 lines when you're typing on the Word document. And well, a paragraph is actually quite 7, but most people don't really follow that rule. Guys, I just wrote all of my experience, and mind you, before I eventually had this final draft, guys, my statement of purpose was almost like 4 pages, okay? And now it's just 1 page, like literally, like, yeah, basically it's just 1 page. Guys, you need to be able to choose the things that you are writing in your statement of purpose very critically and very carefully, because the thing about your statement of purpose is that you want to make every line, every sentence in there to make perfect sense, to like just hit, to like say the smallest things in the most beautiful way. Basically, that's what you want to be doing. So yes, I did talk about my experiences, but I didn't let it to be too lengthy. No, a paragraph is even too much. And when I say a paragraph, maybe like 8 or 10 lines, that is too much, guys. You want to make it concise, and any experience you ever talk about or write about, you want to make sure that that in some sort of way is linked to the major that you are trying to apply for. Okay, so let's say, for example, I want to get into grad school as maybe a science student, or like all this engineering student. Now, you may have had an experience. What sparked your interest in that engineering? You want to make sure you focus on that link. So not just that you woke up one morning, you drove to a warehouse, and then for the first time you saw how like a machine was, designed. Guys, no. Nobody needs all of that lengthy story. Just focus on the story and the part where you are already like linking it to how. Jump to the part where your interest started to like pick up. Find a way to make sure that you are focusing on that link to the fact that, okay, this was the moment I remember specifically that I fell in love with this career or with this degree. Okay. All right, so the second point I'm going to mention when you're writing your statement of purpose is, first of all, always make sure you follow the prompt. So now, I didn't say that as the first point, because whatever prompt that you're following, you still want to make sure that you convey that, you're not just doing this because you feel like you're going to earn money from that degree, or that your parents forced you to do it. You want to make sure that it's something that you're interested in. That's why I started with the passion thing. Now, the second thing is you want to make sure you follow that prompt. Whatever the prompt says you should do, whatever they write specifically, is what you need to focus your attention on. And for the most part, what I've heard, I'm sorry guys if you're hearing a noise, what I have heard in personal statement is they want to know your experiences, they want to know why you chose that school, they want to know why you chose that degree, they want to know like maybe some of the things that you have done in line with that degree. Sometimes it may not be as clear as this, so mind you, they may not clearly state how I explained it to you, but these are the things that are important in your statement of purpose. So you're basically trying to sell yourself, okay? You're basically trying to let them know, number one, I am good enough to get a master's degree in this field because I'm passionate about it. I have done things that are in line with this career, which hence shows the passion and the interest. I also want to show that I have goals in mind. I want to show that I have short-term, long-term goals. I even want to add the fact that I have a research in mind as well. So, but we'll get into that later on in the video. But you kind of get my vibe. So whatever the prompt says, guys, stick to it. And once you're done with the prompt, then you can add like few more things that are of your desire. Okay, so my prompt basically said all of these things when I interpreted it. The third point I'm going to say in writing the statement of purpose is that once you have been able to establish that, okay, you do have passion for this thing, the next thing you want to make sure you establish is what are the experiences that you have done up to this point that is a proof that you're really interested in this career or in this course or in this major. Okay, so those experiences are what will not just convince whoever is reading this, but would also let them know that without anybody's help or instruction, you on your own decided to do these little things, just because you were really interested in that degree. It could be maybe you volunteered in some place. It could also be maybe you interned. It could be maybe you had a job. It could even be about some of the works that you have done. So like, let's say for example, maybe you wrote a paper about it. Maybe you wrote a project about it. Anything. Now, statement of purpose, like I said earlier, is about you writing the simplest things that you're not even counting as, well, that's not a big deal. I just volunteered in, this place. No, guys, it's important. It's about how you write it. It's about writing it in the most mind-blowing way ever. You could have been working in maybe McDonald's. You could have been working in like Chick-fil-A. So let me tell you how to incorporate that. So let's say for example, over the summer or during the holiday, I worked in maybe a sales store, or maybe in a restaurant, or in a fast food joint. Now, how I could tie that into what I'm doing is that, okay, so, and then remember, I'm writing it in an attractive way. So I could say maybe over the summer, I decided to volunteer or to work in Chick-fil-A, for example, and I realized that as I began to communicate with the customers, I realized that I needed to improvise and I needed to speak in the English that the Americans here were speaking with. I realized that my variety of English was not the same, so the conversations that I was having with the customers propelled me to go research about some of the English varieties that they spoke in America. I realized that the more I communicated with the Americans here, because I'm not American, that's why I'm saying that. So I realized that the more I communicate with the Americans here, I saw that communication played a major role. Guys, are you seeing how I'm incorporating that? Like, English shouldn't have anything to do with the fact that I am literally a waiter. I'm literally a waitress. Are you seeing how I'm connecting the dots? Guys, there is nothing you cannot connect to your own advantage when it comes to statement of purpose. And that's why when I talk to my clients, I always tell them, tell me anything that you have done. It may be out of scope, but once they tell me, I would find a way to kind of link whatever that is to what they're trying to do. Honestly, guys. So this is more about being creative. So now let me tell you how I was able to incorporate whatever it is I had done to kind of function as an experience for me in that field. So this is what I said. I said, as an undergraduate, I had always dreamt of improving both the communicative and linguistic competence of secondary school students in my village. This endeared me to become a volunteer at an educational consulting agency where I taught the English language to secondary school students for the entire summer. This was an exciting experience for me as I got to express my love for English actively and creatively. I particularly enjoyed sharing my knowledge about important topics like communication skills, tools for persuasiveness, creativity in composition, and discourse analysis, as the students challenged me in revisiting past knowledge and developing myself while studying and teaching simultaneously. Now, guys, what I wrote here is heavily packed. Let me break it down to you. Now, I first talked about how I volunteered. Now, first of all, guys, I volunteered to teach, but in that agency, I wasn't actually volunteering. I was working, and I just worked for like 2 months there. So it wasn't even up to a year. But nobody has to know that. I didn't say that. Who said that? Nobody. And what I was doing, I was a secretary, guys. I was working as a secretary. However, when I was working as a secretary, because my major, I was studying also English language, my boss wanted to organize like a summer coaching for kids. And I just said, I could teach them communication skills since I did English. Guys, this lasted for just like 2-3 weeks. And what did I say? I said for the entire summer. I said do you see how I made it sound so beautiful? That's one side. Now the other side, I talked about what I learned. Now guys, this is the next point I want to mention. Any experience that you put down in your statement of purpose, you always want to make sure that you write, even if it's just 2 things that you learned from that experience, and that you are implying that you would incorporate if you get this master's admission / scholarship or assistantship. You see what I'm saying? So any experience that you put there, you want to make sure that you were able to write that you gained certain lessons and you learned certain things that you were not aware of before. Do you remember the part where I said, as the students challenged me in revisiting past knowledge and developing myself while studying and teaching simultaneously? Now, this is important because if I get, well, I have gotten the assistantship already, but as at that time, I was also hoping to get an assistantship, which is like a scholarship. Now, the fact that I wrote that I was studying and teaching simultaneously is what I will be doing if I got the admission. Because right now I am studying and teaching. I'm doing two things at once, and they want to know if you are competent to do that. So I said that there. Now, the prompt didn't necessarily tell me to say all of this, but these are important things that you need to say, guys. You need to make it well-rounded, basically. So aside from talking about your experiences, you want to talk about the fact that nobody told me to do this. I, on my own, decided to have this experience because of how passionate I am. That's one. Two, you want to talk about the things that you learned from that experience and kind of make it imply that you are bringing these skills to the school if you get the admission. And lastly, another thing you do want to also showcase, or you can do, is you could even go on their website and Google, like if this is for a job, for example, you could Google the company and look for some of the things that they aspire to see in applicants. You can literally write about that. You already have the experience that you need. You just need to write what you learned from that experience, and you have to make it as attractive as possible, basically. Now, the next experience I added to this was the fact that I tried as much as possible to link my final year project that I did to what I wanted to come and study here in Florida State. Even though they were not exactly the same, I found a way to link it. Guys, there is absolutely nothing that you cannot link to your advantage when you are writing a statement of purpose, and that's what I want to let you guys know. So let me read the part where I kind of linked my project to what I wanted to study, because before now, guys, I knew what rhetoric was, but I never really okay, so what is rhetoric and composition? What is that about? I didn't really know much about it, so I had to do research. Now, that leads to my next point, guys. Guys, you need to do your research. Remember, I even said you could Google some of the qualities that, you know, if it's a company they're looking for, or just Google general qualities that, you know, schools want to see in students. They are hardworking, you know, they're dedicated. All those kind of simple things are things you want to incorporate. But guys, before you find all of this out, you need to do your research. You need to research about that department that you're trying to get admission into, okay? You need to do your research. Like, it cannot be said too much. So back to what I was saying, the project that I did in my final year, I also incorporated this as like an experience that I have. So what I said was, furthermore, I explored pragmatics in my undergraduate research. Now, pragmatics is not rhetoric and composition, but see how I'm gonna link it, okay? Stay with me. I said, analyzing politeness strategies in Hillary Clinton's concession speech using a theory in many respects made me appreciate different approaches to communication using English language as a medium of expression. Even though that wasn't a job, even though that wasn't like me volunteering anything, that was my final year thesis in my undergraduate, I was still able to bring out a skill that I learned through that experience of writing a project in my undergraduate level. Guys, everything about America is skills. You could have your MA, you could have your PhD. If you don't have certain skills that they're looking for, yeah, it's a no. So you have to be able to hone in on this skill. So moving on, I said, upon inquiries for an English language postgrad. Now, this sentence made them also know that I did my research. Remember, that was one of the points I made. Upon inquiries for it made them know I did my research. I went online, I checked the department out, You know, not every student will do that, even though I didn't really technically do that, but I wrote that there. That's the most important thing. But upon inquiries for an English language postgrad, I discovered that rhetoric and composition, which is the major I'm doing now, as a distinctive relationship between audience and speaker's diction, purpose, context in a text, as it combines linguistic situation and communicative reasoning. Now guys, did you notice how I linked that? If you didn't catch it, let me say it again. So how I linked that was that, thus, upon inquiries for an English postgrad, I discovered that rhetoric and composition also, so that was how I was able to say, even though I studied pragmatics, well, I didn't study, but even though my project was on pragmatics in my undergraduate, whatever makes up pragmatics also kinda makes up rhetoric and composition. And guys, I wouldn't have known that if I didn't do my research. So are you seeing how all of this is like, you know, coming together? And that's why I bet you there is absolutely nothing you cannot tell me to help you link that I wouldn't find, even if it's a tiny bit, that I wouldn't just find a way to link it to whatever it is you want to study. There is always that link. No experience is wasted. I want you to have an open mind, basically. I want you to see that it is very possible to link this. So that was how I was able to link it, basically. Also, so some of the features in pragmatics are present in rhetoric and composition. I had no absolutely idea that it was so if I didn't research about this. So I think I'm just gonna read one more very, very important things, and then we can talk about like the general stuff. Now, one more very important thing, guys, is to almost predict what your research will be about when you get the admission. So let's not say if, when you get the admission. And what I mean by that is, after your MA or after your PhD, for example, you intend to either write a thesis or a dissertation, or maybe a portfolio, but let's stick to research. So if that's what you plan on doing, you kind of already want to hint on that. Now, this is taking it a step further, guys. And this is why this video, some of the things I'm saying here is not some of the things that other videos have talked about. You want to take this a step further. You almost want to imply a research proposal that you would be interested in studying. You know, up to even the topic or the focus on the topic. You want to include that there in the same, and then they would know, oh wow, this student, she's actually thinking about this. She knows her onions. She's doing her research. She's really passionate about this. You know, that's taking it a step further. Now, let me read that part where I talked about like a research I would be interested in doing. So I said that similarly, I discovered that the interpretation and understanding of a person's linguistic usage may be affected by his or her societal norm, also called native intelligence in my country's lingo. I wondered if rhetorical abilities could be dependent on gender usage in another ethnicity's standard of English, as did mine, for the main purpose of enabling my countrymen, especially women, who in some part of my country aren't expected to speak or know how to, in political settings, a chance at expression, with rhetoric being the benchmark for equality in communication. Now guys, that was something that I would never have found out if I didn't do my research. So I talked about one of the purpose of my major. You see what I did there? So my major is rhetoric and composition. I talked about one of the features or one of the functions or one of the purpose of rhetoric and composition. I found a way to incorporate that before I even wanted to suggest a proposal I wanted to do. So this is still me talking about or hinting a proposal I would be interested in doing if I get the admission, but I had to start from there. I had to start from the point where, okay, so I know this is what rhetoric is. I made them see also that rhetoric is actually quite different in my own country. So that's already stimulating their interest that, oh, okay, so this girl is bringing something to the table. She's bringing something new. She's bringing a research that maybe hasn't really been explored well enough. Do you see what I'm doing there? And then I would introduce the research that I'm interested in doing. So I am showing that in that area of research, there is a little bit of a different mindset to rhetoric. So now that I've been able to establish that, then I could chip in my proposal idea. Guys, this doesn't mean that when I get the admission, I have to stick to this, but this just make them, you know, see that, okay, she is thinking about this. She is, aside from just telling us her passion, she's actually giving us evidences that she's actually passionate about this. Because you cannot be thinking about a future research if you're not passionate about the theme. Now, this was how I chipped in the research proposal that I wanted to do. So I said, if given the opportunity to study at Florida State University, I hope to expand the frontiers of knowledge in this area by making a comparative analysis of some Nigerian and American rhetorical nuances and covering their rhetorical functions and effects in relation to social-linguistic dependency. Now, guys, I want you to take the application of what I'm saying. I don't want you to like really focus on some of the things that I'm reading, okay? Because your major might be different from mine, but guys, it is the same application. It is this, you can apply this. So this is me saying, if I'm given the admission, sir or ma, this is what I hope to do. This is what I hope to bring into your research field. This is the knowledge I hope to add to all of the scholars before me. That's what I basically did. So I included a future research that I will be interested in. These are proofs and evidence that show that you are actually down, you know, to be a graduate student. Now, my prom didn't ask me to do this. I did this on my own, and you can do this on your own as well. But make sure, like I said, there are specific things that, the second point, you do have to first answer the prompt. Anything you're adding in additional, you know, it's just to take it up it's just to take you a step further. And those are all the specific, guys. Basically, after that, I went on to talk about like my, you know, short-term goals, my long-term goals. Also tell them why you chose that school. Maybe you feel like they are very diverse in their school, and guys, you round everything up and you're done. Now, what I would suggest if you're starting out to write a statement of purpose or a personal statement is jot down some of your points. So do like an iPhone. So bullet points. Number 1, my experience. Number 2, what was the theme that made me attracted to this major? And number 3, write out maybe a research that you're really passionate about or you're interested in. Number 4, write out some of the skills that you were able to take away from some of the experience that you learned. So just highlight these things first, and then once you have that in one paper, then you take another paper and start writing the essay. Now, guys, the last thing I'm gonna say before I wrap up this video is that another good quality of a personal statement or a statement of purpose is when you are able to write all of these important things in such a concise manner. Nobody really wants to see 3 or 4 pages of personal statement and statement of purpose. In fact, if you are able to get it down to a page, now it depends on the word count, but if you're able to get it down to a page, the more concise it is, the more brilliant it is, because it's like, how are you able to convey all of this information in just a page? That is a quality of a good writer, okay? It's not until you write like an entire you know, 100 pages about something. If you're still able to pass the message across but in a shorter form, then that's also a good skill. And that's also, you're kind of letting them know that, yeah, I'm also a good writer. If you have any questions at all about personal statement or statement of purpose, please write them and ask me in the comment section, and I will be more than happy to answer. Please don't forget to subscribe. More than half of you guys are not actually subscribed to my channel. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you in my next video. I wish you the best of luck if you are starting out to just write in this essay. Stay blessed. Bye.